Hey, it's David. So yeah, today I am recording in my car. The thing is, all these ideas are coming to me, and I don't really want to lose this. By the time I get home, it's probably going to be a few hours from now. I'm out getting some groceries, and I plan to go do my laundry as well. So let me just get this out, and hopefully you'll forgive the recording quality for not being as good as it frequently is. Although, let's just say like it is. Early part of the podcast was all smartphone recording, and I'm not promising that there won't be more of these, okay? So, today's topic is, let's just call it intellectual rightness. It's the idea that by arguing and by debating and by continually questioning that we're going to arrive at maybe an understanding, or maybe we won't arrive at an understanding at all. Maybe it'll just be like cyclical and circular, like philosophy. And I think, first of all, I want people to know that I'm not a philosopher. This is not what I do. I don't get any pleasure out of intellectualizing, well, let's talk about this, and let's talk about biases, and what you believe, and what I believe, and going around in circles all year. Some people love that. So, my respect goes out to philosophers. Well, what can you do with that anyway? You can get a lawyer's degree or something like that. That's about all it's good for, as far as I understand. But, philosophy, look, it's an interesting subject. It really is. It's just not my field. That's not where I belong. That's not how I fit in. So I just want to clear up that confusion, that I think some people think that's the world I'm trying to put a stake in, or that's where I'm trying to gain some territory here, and it's not that at all. I want you to know that the number one pursuit that I have is finding things that help artists. That's about it. I'm out there in pursuit, learning things, trying things, implementing things, and that's the really key point, but we'll get to that. I'm out there doing things so that I can bring the gold nuggets back. I've dug in a lot of mud, not just in life in general and in my own personal experiments, but also in coursework. So we'll get into all those things. But I am here, first and foremost, to bring you, the artist, nuggets of gold that can change your life, that can help you make little tweaks, that can help you improve your career. And fundamentally, it's always coming from, and this is something that will gradually come out over time. I haven't emphasized it in my marketing. I haven't emphasized it in my site copy, but there's three things that I focus on. And these are the areas that everything is pretty much filtered through. There's getting it together, there's getting things done, and there's getting it out there. And if I was to use more, let's say, buzzwords or terms that people in personal development, leadership, communication would understand, then we're really just talking about mindsets, psychology, attitude. That's the first category. Second category of getting it done would be like productivity or efficiency or effectiveness. And then the third category of getting it out there would be marketing or promotion. So, and artists don't always love those terms, but hopefully at some point in your life you come to terms with those terms, because you got to make friends with those things if you hope to create success in any way that you please. Now, I think there's some people that come to me and say, look, David, my schedule's full. I don't know if I need to read another book. Hey, I get that. Look, it means you're doing enough of the right things, that you're attracting business, that you've got enough work to go around, you've got a great income, and quite possibly you don't even have any problems right now to address or deal with. So there is that category of people, and I don't think it's that they would never engage in personal development or they never have. It's more so that they've already got a fantastic attitude. They've already got a fantastic work ethic, and they already have fantastic marketing and promotional entities or tactics in place. That's how they're able to do it, because they already have all of those to a sufficient degree. What I frequently find is artists who don't have those to a sufficient degree. And that's why they struggle, because in one of those areas, or sometimes in multiple areas, because I can pretty much diagnose, if you're not doing well, it's going to be in one of those categories. However, that isn't to say that those categories can't or don't stack sometimes, because sometimes they do. There are certainly artists that don't have it together in any of those areas. There's artists that don't have it together in two of those areas, and there's artists that don't have it together in one of those areas. But let's just say, like, if you were coaching with me, it makes our coaching relationship much simpler, because now we know, there's something to work on in terms of getting it done. Because you keep promising to create things and you're not creating them on time, and you're setting deadlines and you're missing them, and you're setting goals and you're not even coming close. So there's an issue there. Yes, there could definitely be a mindset issue there as well, which is why I say they're somewhat interconnected, but I think you got my drift. So reading books and listening to audios and coursework, first of all, any of you who are actually doing that stuff, congratulations. You have separated yourself as a rare human being. And I say that as in, like, if you are doing that stuff regularly and consistently. If you're not at that point yet, no worries. No judgment from me. But what I'm saying is that is one of the key things to getting a career, getting going in the direction that you want to go in creativity and in artistry and in music. If you don't begin taking in the input, and here's the problem, a lot of people are like, well, I don't like reading. Yeah, that's the problem, is you don't read, so you don't know what the benefits are, or you don't understand the benefits. You haven't experienced the benefits firsthand. I've read 200-300 books, and I'm not giving these numbers out there as like, oh, look at me, I'm so amazing. No, I know people that have read 500 books, 1,000 books, 2,000 books, 3,000 books, 5,000 books. There are people that have far more impressive results. I'm a slow reader. I love reading, but I'm slow, man. So, like, I've read 200 or 300 books. Yeah, that's an accomplishment for me, okay? But for a lot of people, Dan Kennedy, Tony Robbins, I don't know, Steve Pavlina, like, that's not even remotely an accomplishment for them. They've read thousands of books. You get that? So I'm not throwing these numbers out, but, like, I've read thousands of articles. I've listened to thousands of podcasts. I've watched thousands of videos. I've attended dozens of courses and seminars and conferences, maybe even hundreds of them. So when I put it out there and by sharing with you what I've been getting out of those things, it's not in the world of hypotheticals. I'm talking about something that I did. I'm talking about something that I actually went out there, did this course for myself, even if the coursework was god-awful torture, or if it was just digging around in the mud, which is what that leadership program was, that 2-year leadership program that I often mentioned towards the head of this podcast. It was just digging around in the mud and being willing to be triggered and sitting with the trigger and keep digging in that trigger until you find something about yourself. Now, you tell me if that sounds pleasant and that is something you want to do. I can bring back all kinds of nuggets of gold from that course and share them with you. In fact, I already have. If you go back in the podcast archives, you're going to hear a lot of that stuff. A lot of stuff that I was discovering and learning along the way that made a difference for me. So, we're talking about things that I have done. The question is, what have you done? Okay? And I think this is the problem, this is where we start arguing about intellectual rightness. Like, who's right and who's got a bias and this, that. You realize, like, that's in the world of philosophy. I already told you, I'm not a philosopher. I don't want to sit here and debate and argue it. I don't like to sit here and debate and argue it. And the reality is, this is meant to help people. This is meant to help people in their careers and their businesses and their ventures and whatever they're doing. If it doesn't help you, think of it like a buffet. Take what you want, leave what you don't want. I did that. And I was given full permission at times. Think of, like, David Allen and Getting Things Done. Great book. It talks about a analog productivity system, right? Like one that doesn't really use digital. It uses paper-based productivity system. Got a lot out of that book. Took some parts from it. Didn't do the whole thing. Why? Because I didn't like the whole thing. There's parts of it that didn't work for me and didn't make sense for me, right? The in-tray, the out-tray, I was like, that just creates more clutter on my desk. My friends ask me sometimes, too. They're like, well, if you took the Getting Things Done system, why don't you have in-trays and out-trays on your desk? This is why. Because I don't like them. It just creates clutter, and it doesn't help me. It doesn't help me get things done. So I had to move stuff like that out of the way, and I combined things. But, again, in the real world, I practically apply these things. So here's the problem is people often talk about things as if they've done them and they haven't. And so they don't have that experience of, for example, reading a book and going into flow states and their brains connecting dots between seemingly completely disconnected and disparate subjects, and ideas coming to them like crazy for ideas for their business, ideas for their music, ideas for their lyrics. They don't have that experience because they haven't read a damn book. But the problem is people are equating this with learning. And I think this comes from school, and that's the problem is people equate school with learning. School is not learning. They talk about education and higher education and traditional education and all that kind of stuff. And unless you're actually going out there and doing things with the knowledge that you've gained, unless you're practically applying it, you're not learning anything because you're not getting feedback from the external world. You're not getting feedback from the universe. You got to do things to get the feedback, right? This is accurate thinking. So Napoleon Hill, one of the number one concepts he talks about in Think and Grow Rich is accurate thinking. For some people like to bypass right over that and don't even consider it and don't even think about it. You know that Think and Grow Rich is still a brilliant book today. I go back and I check out the content sometimes and I'm just like, wow, was that always there? Like, I think I missed that on the first read or the second read through. No, like, this book's amazing. So I could talk an hour about accurate thinking. And this is what we're missing a lot of the time. We can't think accurately about our situation. Why is that? Because we don't go out and apply it. We have to go out and do things to get the feedback. And sometimes you do things and it's not the result that you hoped for or thought it would be. It doesn't mean necessarily that it will never work and it can't work and it doesn't work for you. And that's the other part that requires quite a bit of accurate thinking to navigate. Because you're like, well, I did things, I studied, I created a hypothesis, I did my research, I found my target audience and demographics and psychographics, I put together a plan, I implemented the strategy, I put it out there, and I still didn't see the results that I expected to see. But accurate thinking would say, well, maybe that doesn't work, and maybe it does work if implemented differently, if I made some tweaks, if I optimized, if I made some changes. And if you listen to me for any length of time, you know this. I'm a big advocate for reading books. I'm a huge advocate for listening to podcasts and audio programs, watching motivational videos, going to conferences and events and seminars. I'm a huge advocate for all that. But we can't confuse that necessarily with learning. The real learning is going to happen when you actually go out there and do it. You can sit there and learn about how to build a chair with wood all day, but man, until you get into the workshop, you're only talking about the theoretical. It's like, oh no, I know how to build a chair. No. Build the chair and show me, okay? That's what we have to start doing here. Like, we can't just continue to debate and argue about the hypothetical and the possible and this is what could happen or this is what will happen when... No. Go and make the chair and then come back to me, because then we have something to talk about. But until then, we're just talking about blueprints and schematics and arguing over the details. I want to see the chair. And your first chair might suck, but would you call that a failure? Most people don't call it a failure when, like, they fall off a bicycle for the first time, do they? No, they get back on and try again. Yeah, there could be a little bit of injury or trauma to get over. But once you're over it, you're like, well, I'm going to have to get back on that bike if I want to learn how. And it might be a little painful and it might be a little scary, but the only way to do it is to do it. That's the thing. Here's another way of explaining this. So a lot of people, things kind of go into three categories. And I don't want to go into a lot of this because, frankly, this is very difficult for a lot of people to accept. But you've basically got three categories of things. There's know about, and there's belief. And only one of those is actually connected to real knowledge, real experience, real insight into anything, okay? I don't know how to fly a helicopter. I've seen people fly a helicopter, so I know it's possible. And I've been in a helicopter as it was flying. So I have that experience. But I wasn't the one flying the helicopter. I never learned how to fly a helicopter, and I imagine the training part would be very valuable and very useful. But until I fly a helicopter, I know nothing about flying a helicopter. So that's a no about. That will always be a no about, unless I decide to become a pilot. Right? Learning German. I know German exists as a language. I've heard my grandparents speak it. I've heard my mother speak it. I'm pretty sure I've heard random people on the street speaking it. So I know it exists as a language. I've heard it. But it's a no about. It's not a no. What I know is that German exists as a language. But as far as speaking it, that's a no about. I would have to go learn the language and then use it. Not just learn it, like read a book, but actually speak it out using the language, right? So there's your no about. No is like something you've experienced, man. And I've driven a car many, many times. How to drive a car is something I know. There was all kinds of training and there was all kinds of theory. I watched videos. I was given books. I was given booklets. I don't even remember everything we went through to train how to, learn how to drive a car. Like, I think my parents or my grandparents let me drive their car once I got my learner's license and they were in the passenger seat, were, legally applicable, obviously. But until then, until I actually come to this point of everything is pretty well automatic now. Like, I still need to pay attention. We should all still pay attention on the road. But it's more or less automatic now. That's a no. And then we have beliefs. Now, beliefs are not wrong. They're not bad to have. Everybody pretty much has beliefs. It's kind of impossible to navigate this life without them. And again, I'm not here to debate the semantics of that, but I don't see a situation where you can't have a belief. So everyone has beliefs about things. They're not bad. They're not wrong. But a belief is not a no. Okay? Well, I believe it works that way. Yeah. Cool. It's cool that you believe that, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's not a judgment. But do you know it works like that? Oh, yeah, I know, because I believe. No. That's different. Knowing and believing are different. Believing in something is not an experience. You haven't learned it, and you haven't experienced it. And until you've experienced it, you haven't really learned it. That's what I'm trying to say. So with that context established, is it a no? Is it a no about? Or is it a belief? The thing that's going to help you most, the most salient point out of all this, because it has gotten kind of semantical without really wanting it to go there. The thing that you're going to find most useful out of all this is going out and doing things. Experiment. Implement. Do the things that you say you know to do. How do I know that you're not doing it? Because I literally see it. There was a review for my book, The Renegade Musician, on Goodreads. And I was like, great, cool, a review, 4 stars. I'm like, okay, whatever. They don't think it's like the best thing since sliced bread. That's fine. They basically said a couple things. Well, number one, they said, I live in Nashville, so I already know all this. Which, okay, there's some unique content in there, okay? I've created some unique frameworks. That alone is pretty unique. I don't know any music industry book out there, not a single one, that blends Earl Nightingale, Dan Kennedy, Napoleon Hill, my learned and experienced, which again, a really important part in all this. It doesn't exist. There is no other book like that out there. So you know it all. Okay. So I went and checked out this artist's online presence. They say they know it all. Okay? They don't have a website. They don't have an email list. And they don't have a sales funnel. These are all things I talk about and advocate in the book that artists not just should have, but are as an absolute must-have. This artist didn't have any of those things. So are we talking about a no or a no about? That is a no about, because you haven't done a damn thing with the knowledge. Please, go and make the chair, then come back to me and tell me how it went. But until you've made the chair, you, sir, you, ma'am, have done shit all.
Unlock the secrets to skyrocketing your productivity, boosting performance, and maximizing profits with my latest premium guide, the Productivity, Performance, and Profits Blackbook. Tailored for independent artists and entrepreneurs, this comprehensive resource is your roadmap to turning ideas into reality. Say goodbye to abandoned projects collecting dust on your shelves or buried in your hard drives. It's time to bring your vision to life. Grab your free copy of the Productivity, Performance, and Profits Blackbook now at davidandrewweeb.com/blackbook. That's WIEBE. Don't miss out on the key to unlocking your success.